Stomp stomp, I've arrived, and I've brought some Rogue One cards to talk about. Both tops Rogue One Series 1 and 2 came with sticker autographs, except for the Series 1 Jyn Erso Redemption, which stands out. All the autograph cards in each set share the same photoshopped background. In Series 1 I think it's Scarif on fire. Honestly, the background repetition gets a bit boring. The Series 1 Jyn autograph is a pretty big deal though. There are out of 50 and out of 10 variants, but in this case, I'd argue the rarer versions actually lose some eye appeal. Interestingly, some of the Series 1 Felicity Jones autographs are split across two lines, and those seem much rarer than the standard single-line versions. I like that these cards were released as part of a set tied directly to the movie, and in the Series 1 case right when Rogue One hit theaters. But it got me thinking, is there a better way to collect these autographs? I think the 2018 Top Star Wars Archives Signature Series might be the answer. Most Rogue One signers from the checklist sign Series 1 or 2 base cards for the archives. So you still get that time and place factor, with the autograph being on a card from the important original movie set. On top of that, you get big character photos, often showing them in their actual environments. So yeah, way less of those dreaded nonsense Photoshop backgrounds. There's a bit of mystery around this set because we don't really fully know what's out there. The checklist lists the signers but doesn't specify which cards they actually signed. And even the signers list isn't completely reliable, as I spotted Aiden Cook as a lone signer on a Mon Calamari card that the checklist doesn't mention at all. Some fans, myself included, have been trying to keep track of all the Rogue One card variants that pop up. From what I've seen, there are signed based on black, green, and blue parallels, but none of the rare numbered parallels. Some signers also signed cards from our sets, but these are much less collectible to my mind. There's also some mystery around the T-Tubes and SE2 worker droid cards. People have been looking for these for a long time but still haven't spotted any. Since neither Series 1 nor 2 has a single card featuring the worker droid, I suspect if signed droid cards exist, they're either poster cards or from some other set entirely. These cards have a bit of a learning curve to them. Things like pen color, signature placement, signature size, and the parallel variant all affect how visible and therefore desirable the autograph is. For example, I personally favor the base over the generally rarer green parallels. I suspect some Rogue One images were never even signed on the green variants, which makes hunting greens tricky. Plus, green just doesn't complement most of the images. It's bright and ends up pulling attention away from the photo itself. And honestly, I can't find any real connection between the color green and the movie. The connection doesn't have to be there, but when it is, it's a nice touch. I've never seen any inscribed Rogue One Archives cards, but there is a comparatively small number of inscribed cards from other signers. Plenty of cards feature multiple characters in the shot, and in those cases one should rely on the signature itself to figure out who the signer is. You can imagine how mad the breakers were about that back in the day. No character name and no actor name served up on a silver platter for them to read. The complaints were endless. And to those unfortunate complaints, I'd attribute the fact that we haven't had a similar Star Wars card release since. It seems like whenever something more interesting or ambitious comes along, that crowd complains, and they're very vocal about it. These cards come in BCW magnetic holders with a top sticker on them. Each one also has the archive stamp and a separate numbering stamp. So it seems to me that if someone were really determined to forge these, they probably could. Replicating the stamps isn't exactly rocket science. And then of course one would need a skilled hand to fake the signature too. For cards with multiple characters, I imagine someone could even remove the autograph of a less popular character, then re-sign it as the bigger name. These stamps would already be there, making it that much easier to pass off. I usually take my cards out of the holders and put them in new ones. That seems like a big no-no among the sticker fanbase. Contrary to popular belief, it is possible to remove the top sticker without damaging it. I wouldn't be shocked if there were people sitting on stockpiles of those stickers, like we've seen happen with another release. Here's the deal, magnetic holders were never meant to offer a lifetime of UV protection. ProMold, for example, cites 5 years of protection on their website, though they elaborated on the forums that it really depends on how much UV exposure the card gets. I'm mentioning ProMold specifically because they've shown a level of transparency I haven't seen from other manufacturers. When I got the cards, the holders were often scratched up, and one even had a bit of dirt trapped inside. I know some people polish the cases, but I'd worry that it might affect the UV protective properties. As technology improves and new generations of holders come out, I think collectors shouldn't feel like they have to sit on the sidelines. And honestly, I'm not a fan of how the card can move side to side in the factory holders. The stickers are often applied unevenly, crooked, or even covering part of the front of the card. And really, collectors should be able to store their cards in binders if that's what they prefer, without getting shamed for it. Beyond the holders and stickers, I care much more about the actual image on the card. So I focused on trying to get the cards in portrait orientation whenever possible, ideally with a background that's accurate to the movie. For example, while the so-called rookie gin is rarer, with non out of 6 base and out of 1 blue variants, I actually prefer the Rebel Hero card. That one shows her in front of the rocks on Jeddah, whereas the rookie card uses a post-promo image with a photoshopped background. A lot of the base cards, especially gins, feature images that didn't make it into the final cut of the film. One of her other signed cards I really like is the only one across both base sets that shows her holding a blaster. Of all the cards she signed in the archive set, this one with the sky background offers the cleanest, most signature-friendly backdrop. That same image was also used on the box and in promotional material for the archives release. With Krennic, I again preferred the photo on the non-rookie portrait card. The one with his thumb to his mouth just feels too unnatural. On one hand, the blue parallel is rarer than the out of 39 base, and the blue does sort of match the sky and the Empire logo. But on the other hand, the tan fits the concrete platform he's standing on, and one blue card in a sea of base tan really sticks out like a sore thumb. This Mon Mothma card checks both my Rogue One and Andor collecting boxes. I see people paying multiples of what her archives cards went for, chasing later sticker autos from pretty irrelevant sets, and I just don't get it. I really liked Admiral Radius in Rogue One. He came across as a great leader, quick-thinking, unafraid to speak his mind, and when it mattered the most, ready to take action. He earned the trust and loyalty of fierce squadrons he could rely on. His Rogue One line, "May the Force be with you," sent shivers down the viewer's spine and showed real empathy. But his lines in Andor felt very out of character to me. He seemed out of the loop, accusatory towards Luthen with that Orwor's comment, and much more hesitant to act. Other Rogue One characters with archives cards who show up in Andor include Saw, K2SO, Draven, Pow, and maybe if they exist, Tutus. In Series 1, K2SO wasn't featured on any of the base cards, but there are signed character icons cards of him. I really like the vertical cards with K2SO that use proper screen stills, and out of those, the one showing his last stunt is the most epic. Especially since there's a very similar, powerful scene in one of Alan's earlier major projects, where a character strikes the same pose with an arm outstretched, holding a gun, looking away. The last two autograph cards I have on hand are the two buddies who were away on a mission in the final episode of Andor. These are the ones Radus wanted to wait for. In both Series 1 and 2, sketch cards were fairly common, especially in the later release. Artists were asked to do repeats, but not every sketch card has repeats, and some of the repeats vary a bit. The card stock for Series 1 and 2 is exactly the same. Some artists worked on only one of the sets. Another way to tell which set a sketch comes from is by the scene featured. Since the artists worked on Series 1 before the movie came out, they mostly had limited reference images, mainly from trailers. For example, there are sketch cards of scenes that never made it into the final movie, like this Jyn vs TIE Fighter sketch. There are quite a few really high-end Rogue One sketch cards out there. I happen to have acquired one of these as my very first Rogue One sketch. This particular card has repeats, but you can spot the subtle differences between mine and the one scanned on Borg.com. I pair it with the Series 2 sketch card of young Jyn hiding in the tall grass by Anthony Scoobies. I'm one with the cards, and the cards are with me. And so I also have a sketch of Chirrut with the Jedha background by the same artist. Since there are no archives autographs of Chirrut and Baze, I want to supplement the collection with sketches of them. The sketch is still in the slab in case I need a PSA slab for a future video thumbnail. The graders put 2017 and Series 1 on the label, which contradicts itself. Honestly, I think they have no clue how to identify which set a sketch belongs to, especially with trickier sketch card sets like Game of Thrones. My body sketch card is unsigned, which sometimes happens when artists forget to sign their sketches before they get packed out. Granted, blank Rogue One sketch cards do occasionally pop up on eBay, so you really have to be careful to avoid aftermarket cards. That said, I'm pretty sure mine was pack-pulled. Next up, I've got the Series 1 U-Wing Starfighter sketch by Marsha Parkins. I think this might have been the first set where her sketch cards appeared, which would make this card even more special. Marsha is especially popular among Star Wars vehicle sketch card collectors thanks to her highly detailed and immersive vehicle artwork. I'm gradually shifting my sketch card collecting to focus more on scene sketch cards. I've got this sketch by Charlie Cody of Jedha moments before it was destroyed. It would pair perfectly with a SO Archives card, which is a goal of mine for the future. My Rogue One card collecting mostly focuses on the Rebellion, but I wanted to include at least one sketch representing the Empire. There are plenty of tank pilots, stormtroopers, and shore troopers sketches, but most show them standing still. Very few actually capture them in the heat of battle. This is a Series 1 sketch card by Bob Stevlik. There's a lot of buzz in the community around the Rogue One gold cards. Since there are no tops on card Cassian autographs and the good Cassian sketch cards are really hard to find, the gold Cassian cards provide a nice opportunity for various types of collectors to fill a gap in their collections. My favorite is the Destruction of Scarif image. It's the last scene with Jyn and Cassian, and it reminds me of a time when writers had the guts to make the stakes real. That kind of storytelling feels like a lost art these days. The 2022 Masterwork release included Rebel Base radar screen prop cards. There are 3 variants. One has a clear fragment, the second has a visible line, and the third appears to have 2 lines either crossed or spaced apart. There's plenty of characters to choose from, but I like Jan Dodona best. On his card, he's standing in front of a table with the radar screen right behind him, just like in the movies. And that makes it distinct from other obvious promo images,